Texas. Border towns. Prisons packed with forgotten men. And inside one of those prisons, something impossible happened. A gang was born. Not on the streets. Not in the barrios. But behind bars. Barrio Azteca. A gang that should never have existed. Prison gangs are usually locked in, isolated, contained. But Barrio Azteca was different. They grew outside. Faster. Stronger. Deadlier. They weren't supposed to have power. But soon, they would control an entire border. 1980s. El Paso County Jail. Small fights turn into riots. Inmates start banding together. Mexican Americans. Many deported. Some with no homes. Some with no country. They carved tattoos into their skin. Aztec symbols. Warrior codes. Brotherhood in blood. What started as protection inside became domination outside. Released members didn't reform. They expanded. Recruiting teens. Recruiting deportees. Recruiting anyone desperate. They had one rule. Loyalty or death. This wasn't a gang. It was an army. 1 foot in the U.S., 1 foot in Mexico. They weren't bound by one country. They belonged to none. In El Paso, they looked like just another prison crew. But cross into Juárez, they were executioners. And in both places, they answered to no one. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. El Paso. On the surface, safe. Clean streets, low crime. The safest city in America. But in the shadows, Barrio Azteca controlled everything. Drugs, extortion and hit jobs. They didn't spray bullets on street corners. They didn't wear colors in public. They wore silence. They moved money and bodies without leaving a trace. El Paso lived in denial. But every cop knew. The city was at war, and no one was talking about it. Juárez cartel. Bloodiest cartel of the 1990s and 2000s. And their hitmen? Not locals. Not family. Not cartel-born. They hired Barrio Azteca. The gang became their death squad. Cross-border killers. Invisible assassins. Barrio Azteca wasn't just surviving. They were thriving. Paid in cash. Paid in drugs. Paid in power. The cartel wars raged. And Barrio Azteca was right in the middle. Ciudad Juárez. 3 U.S. consulate employees. Gunned down. In broad daylight. Everyone was stunned. Why them? Why Americans? The killers? Barrio Azteca. But here's the part that shook investigators. The orders didn't come from Juárez. Didn't come from the cartel. They came from somewhere else. A shadow. An unknown voice. Someone powerful enough to tell Barrio Azteca what to do. Rumors spread. Of a man known only as El Fantasma. The ghost. Some said he was ex-CIA. Others said ex-cartel. Some whispered he never even existed. But killings increased. Each one precise. Each one unexplained. Barrio Azteca wasn't acting alone anymore. They were puppets. And no one knew who was pulling the strings. El Paso police. Juárez police. Even federal agents. Everywhere investigators looked. Barrio Azteca had someone bought. Files disappeared. Cases collapsed. Witnesses went missing. One DEA agent said, "It's like chasing shadows. You know they're there. But the second you get close, everything vanishes." Texas was under siege. But not with bombs. Not with tanks. With silence. Barrio Azteca killed only when necessary. Never loud. Never messy. Drug shipments flowed. Cash flowed back. And every time the FBI thought they had them, the trail went cold. It wasn't a gang war. It was chess. And Barrio Azteca was always 3 moves ahead. The violence wasn't just soldiers. It wasn't just gangsters. It was families, mothers, children, and neighbors. If a man owed money, his family suffered. If a woman talked, she vanished. If a child saw too much, that child never saw tomorrow. Fear spread faster than bullets, and silence became survival. El Paso. A low-level member of Barrio Azteca, found dead. But not in Juárez. Not in the desert. Inside a U.S. federal safe house. He was supposed to be protected. He was about to testify. And then, he was executed. Someone inside the system was working for Barrio Azteca. Whispers started. Dark whispers. Barrio Azteca wasn't just a cartel pawn. They weren't just prison thugs. They were assets, used by intelligence agencies, for missions no one wanted on paper. Smuggling. It's chaos in Mexico. But was it true? Or just another ghost story? Witness after witness vanished. Cases collapsed in court. Judges received threats. Lawyers went missing. Every time the government tried to crush Barrio Azteca, they hit a wall of silence. It wasn't just corruption. It was something bigger. Something darker. A trial finally began. High-ranking Barrio Azteca leaders. The U.S. government ready to prove everything. But then, evidence vanished. Recordings deleted. One juror threatened. The case fell apart. But here's the twist. The government wasn't surprised. It looked like they wanted it to fail. Barrio Azteca. The gang that shouldn't exist. Born in prison. Spread across 2 nations. Killing for cartels. Killing for reasons no one understood. And maybe not even under their own control. Because every trail leads to shadows. Shadows in government. Shadows in intelligence. Shadows no one dares name. So the question remains, who really controls Barrio Azteca? And the answer? No one wants to know.